Introducing YouTube memberships, a fun way to support the channel while getting some exclusive perks. Click the join button to become a member now and get benefits like badges next to your name on videos, behind-the-scenes photos, advantages during the live trivia game, discounts on merchandise, private one-on-one video chats, the ability to request future video topics, and exclusive 8 to 10 minute videos on the history of the NFL. And now, on with our feature presentation. This has never happened before in the history of this channel, where a coach receives a dumb decisions episode and an in-defense sub episode in the same exact game. But it has to be warranted here. Like I said in yesterday's video on this man right here, head coach Pete Carroll, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner, this game was chock full of absolutely questionable decisions that were second-guessed. Some of them, I was absolutely scratching my head at and wondering just what the heck was going on. Case in point, the Seahawks not calling their third and final timeout at the end of the first half to try and get the football back. That was a decision that didn't seem to make any sense whatsoever, no matter how you want to look at it, especially because Carroll already called a timeout on a previous play to try and get the ball back. So he had the right idea, and then just abandoned the concept for no reason. But this decision that we're going to talk about today was the one that received the most scrutiny. By far, this was the one that received the most scrutiny, especially because it was at the very end of the game, and was the one that ultimately ended up costing the Seahawks the game in the eyes of many. Let's talk about how the game was going up until this point, since I already did the backstory for the game and the importance of it in the last video. At this point in the contest, the Seahawks have 1:31 left at their own 25-yard line, and find themselves down by 1 point with no timeouts, trailing for the first time today. Now, there was some talk about whether the Rams could have killed more time, but I really had no problem with what the Rams did, because the Seahawks needed to get 35 yards to get into field goal range. Whether they had 1:40 left or 1 minute left doesn't make too much of a difference. It's not like we're talking about 1 minute left versus 20 seconds left, so I had no problem with that passing play on second down. But regardless, the Seahawks have the ball, needing to get into field goal range to retake the lead, and ultimately not just win the game, but avoid getting swept at the hands of their division rivals. And the good news for the Seahawks is that they do just that. After 2 passes by Geno Smith, with one being to Tyler Lockett for a gain of 13, and the other on third down being a gain of 21 to DK Metcalf, the Seahawks are in plus territory. Things are looking very good for the Seahawks here. Now, you figure in a spot like this, with the ball at the 39-yard line and about 24 seconds left, that you would spike it. And then, you would call some passing plays to get a bit closer and make it a much more manageable field goal. Instead, the Seahawks decide not to do that. Because instead, after getting into plus territory, the Seahawks decide to do, well, this.
From the 39. They run it with Charbonnet right at the middle, and he picks up a couple. Now,
they're not even going to try and get all that much closer. They're just going to run the ball, not take any chances, get back to the line, spike it, and then try the field goal right then and there for Jason Myers on the final play of the game. It's still a pretty long field goal. I mean, you could have gone a heck of a lot closer. And instead, you're just going to settle for the kick right now from 55 yards out? Chip shot field goal, I get it, but a 55-yard field goal? This is definitely a choice. This feels incredibly risky. This could absolutely backfire. Do you really think this is a good idea?
Kick on the way, leaking right, and it's no good!
Yeah, that's not good. Instead, trying to get closer, the Seahawks settle for the 55-yard field goal. Jason Myers misses it, and the ball game is over. The Seahawks lose, they fall to 6-4, and the Rams get the win to keep their season alive. And when I say that this decision was widely criticized by fans and analysts, oh, I mean it. I'd be here all day if I showed every single tweet and comment about the situation. But this summed it up. They should not have run the ball. They should have tried to get closer, and Pete Carroll has no idea when to run the ball and when to throw the ball. So this feels like a prime candidate not just for dumb decisions, But considering the fact that they lost this game, one of the dumbest decisions of the entire season, right? Why would you even try this? Why would you not get closer? However, I've got to defend Pete Carroll here, even though I didn't yesterday with the end of the first half decision, because in all honesty, I would have done the exact same thing. Not trying to get any closer in this spot, based on how the game was going, is a decision that you can definitely make a defense for. And I'm going to do that here. Welcome to In Defense Of. Let's dive right in. When you break it down, this decision comes down to two things. Number one, how much should you trust your offense? And number two, how much should you trust your kicker? There's a difference between playing scared and playing smart. If you have a high chance of getting yourself out of field goal range, or if the kicker can comfortably hit from that distance, then that's a lot different than if you've been moving the ball and if your kicker legitimately needs those extra yards. Starting with the first point, the man that Pete Carroll was working with under center at quarterback was Geno Smith. Now, if you've got a healthy Geno Smith back there at quarterback, then maybe this decision looks a lot more stupid. But by this point in the game, Geno was battling a pretty bad injury. In the third quarter of the contest, Smith injured his right elbow, which is kind of a problem when you're a quarterback who is right-handed. There were multiple plays where after throwing the football, Smith shook his arm out. He was not comfortable throwing the football whatsoever, even though his last few throws were complete. And that's a big deal if the Rams get pressure, because when you've got a quarterback who is not necessarily at 100% when it comes to his strength, that means that passes don't travel as far, since you've got to put a lot more mustard into those throws. If the Rams get pressure, it means that a pass might not make it back to the line of scrimmage depending on where Smith is looking and aiming the football, which means that you open yourself up significantly more to the possibility of intentional grounding, which not only gets you out of field goal range, but constitutes a 10-second runoff, since you do not have any timeouts. Again, I'm usually one to say that you can't play scared, and that you have to trust your quarterback in these spots. But things are a heck of a lot different when you have a quarterback who is in pain every time he throws the football and is hurting pretty badly. Now you might say in that case, well, that's not an excuse. Why not just put in the backup quarterback? He's there for a reason. But considering how bad Drew Lock looked when he came in for Geno Smith during the second half, as he went 2 for 6 with 3 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, and a passer rating of 2.8, which is worse than if he did nothing but spike the ball to the ground on every single play, that doesn't really apply here. No matter who your quarterback is, whether it's a healthy Drew Lock or an injured Geno Smith, you're seemingly screwed either way. Plus, you've got an offense that has been completely stifled as of late. In the dumb decisions video I made on this game, and Pete Carroll opting not to use his timeouts at the end of the first half, I said that one of the reasons that this was a dumb idea was because you had been moving the ball at will, and the complexion of the game dictated that you should have kept going. Well, that was not the case so much after the first 3 drives, because by this point, the game had flipped on its head, and the complexion of the game dictated that you could not move the ball against this Rams defense. On the last 7 drives before this one, the Seahawks had amassed a grand total of 38 yards. That's it. 7 drives and 38 yards, or not even 5.5 yards per drive. You had quite a few negative plays. You had some penalties that set you back, and you just weren't moving the ball that well. Honestly, I completely get not wanting to take any chances once you already got into field goal range, because there was no real guarantee that you were going to get any closer or stay in field goal range if you tried to do that, especially since you've got a quarterback who is injured and is definitely not at 100%. Alright, so we've established why once you're in field goal range, it might not be the best idea to try and continue getting closer, since you've got an injured quarterback, an offense that has moved backwards throughout the half and has shot itself in the foot, and since you leave yourself open with no timeouts to a 10-second runoff that could end the game. But that raises the second point for the man you've been watching this whole time, Pete Carroll. Should you have had any faith in your kicker, or at the very least, that much faith? This was a long field goal for this man right here, Jason Myers. This was a 55-yard try. It's a heck of a lot different to settle for a 55-yard field goal with someone like Justin Tucker versus a random fan. And with Jason Myers, yeah, I have no problem with settling for this kick, because he's one of the best kickers in all of football. He was 3 for 3 on the day already, including a 54-yard kick in the second quarter and a 52-yard kick in the third quarter, both of which were made with relative ease. The man had made 14 consecutive field goals, making quite a few of those kicks from that 50-plus yard range, including 2 in this game already and a 55-yarder against the Cincinnati Bengals. Last year in 2022, Myers was a Pro Bowl kicker, thanks in part to his efficiency on kicks from 50-plus yards out, where he went 6 for 6. In fact, besides Fairbairn of the Houston Texans, Myers was the only kicker in the NFL in 2022 to make at least 6 field goals from the 50-plus yard range with a 100% efficiency rate. He did not miss. You've got a guy with a cannon of a leg, and that's been that way throughout his entire career, from when he started down in Jacksonville and hit a 58-yard kick at the end of the first half in just his second career game, to now. And a guy that might be in the top 5 kickers in football in terms of guys I'm trusting from a super far distance. This is not like the dumb decisions episode I did on the New York Giants trying a field goal with Graham Gano when they should have went for it, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. This is not an injured kicker who has been highly erratic all season. This is also not like the dumb decisions episode I did on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year trying a field goal with Ryan Suckoff from 55 yards out, when he's never made a kick from that far before in his life, when he didn't hit in that distance from warm-ups, and was just 3 for his last 11 on kicks from 50-plus yards over the past 4 seasons. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. It's a case-by-case basis depending on the kicker and the flow of the game. And this is one of those kickers that I'm absolutely trusting. He made 2 similar kicks before in this game with no problem, and he's made kicks like that throughout his entire career. You get inside 55 yards, and yeah, if I had to bet on whether he's making the kick or missing it, I'm betting on the fact that Jason Myers is making it. So I really don't have a problem with this decision to play conservative once you got into his range. Just as a quick side note, the fact that it's 2023 and I have no problem with this decision because I have complete and utter faith in Jason Myers as a kicker is absolutely insane. Look, I'm a Jaguars fan. Myers was on our team for 3 years. He joined the team in 2015. And every time he kicked the football, I was holding my breath because there was about a 50% chance that he was going to be nowhere close to the uprights. So the fact that he is now one of the best kickers in football is beyond me, but good for him. He's had quite the career turnaround. Just wanted to point that out. Look, it didn't work out at the end of the day, and that goes without saying. Jason Myers hit one of the worst kicks of his life at one of the worst possible times. And the Seahawks walked away from this game empty-handed, getting no points on the drive, losing the game as a result, and in a game that they absolutely needed to win nonetheless, seeing as their next 4 games are against San Francisco, Dallas, San Francisco, and Philadelphia. 4 teams with a combined record of 30-10. So you've got one of the toughest gauntlets coming up maybe in NFL history. You really needed to win this one. But even though it didn't work out, I would definitely do it all over again. Because when you look at how the offense was struggling at this point in the game, the health of the quarterback at hand, the timeout situation, and the clock situation at hand, and when you look at the field goal kicker who you're trying to get in range for, and how successful and accurate he's been from that distance, not just in his career, but this season, and especially in this game, this is one decision that you can definitely make a defense for. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.